Hi, I'm Ron Cisar, and I'm teaching a class at Hitchcock Nature Center called the Land Ethics Workshop. And each month we have a different topic as we follow the land ethics principles of famous naturalist Aldo Leopold from his book, A Sand County Almanac. On the 23rd of July, I'll be teaching a course called Loess Hill's Limnology. And what is limnology? It's the study of freshwater biology. And that's why I'm here with this beautiful pond in the background surrounded by the Loess Hills and the prairie wildflowers and grasses to show you a little bit of the things that we're going to be accomplishing during that workshop on the 23rd. What's wonderful about this location is it gives us a feel for the true aquatic experience. Is this a pond or a lake? Well, we'll talk about that in the workshop. What's the difference? How do you tell? How are their characteristics different? Because there is definitely things biotically and abiotically, living and non-living, which discern the difference between a lake or a pond. But what we're going to do here, as you can kind of see in front of me, during our class we're going to do a lot of different testing. We'll test the abiotic characteristics such as water temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen content, nitrates and phosphates, and what their influence has on the biotic community of the pond. And then we'll take some nets down to the shallows and we'll see if we can capture some of the really significant organisms of this pond. Those tiny little organisms we call macroinvertebrates, maybe the early stages of a mayfly or a dragonfly, or all different types of creatures that may seem insignificant, but they're a critical part of what we call the trophic pyramid, or the food pyramid of this wonderful ecosystem. So we're going to first go down by the lake, or the pond I should say, and grab a little dip net and see if we can capture a few things to put up here on our table, and then we'll talk about them a little bit later. Okay? While we're down here at the pond, we'll say a couple things that's kind of neat. You can kind of see the emergent vegetation floating on the top of the very shallows. This is called potamogeton here, kind of a pond weed. There's huge lotus and types of water lily looking plants along the shoreline. But as you notice, as you start to progress out into the pond, it gets deeper and deeper, and all of a sudden there's a location where you don't see any of these emergent plants at all, because they really can't pursue the security of the bottom of the pond. It's just too deep. Also, you get a little bit to the point where it gets deep enough that light gets to be a little bit more difficult to penetrate. If it's a true pond, well, it should maybe penetrate close. But if it's a lake, there's pretty much an aphotic zone down here where no light penetrates at all. So what we're trying to do is kind of take a dip net and try to see if we can see some of these macroinvertebrates in this zone, which is called the Littoral Zone. That zone of open water is called the Limnetic Zone. Each of these zones has certain characteristics. So we're going to take this back up and put it in a little tray and see if we can see any creatures swimming around. Okay? Dump some of the contents in here. And kind of get some of the larger material out. Like to kind of mix it around first. See a lot of coontail in there, which is an aquatic plant. Now we'll get some of the plant material out so we can see it with the light background of the tray and let things settle just a little bit. Okay. I see some little tiny shrimp-like organisms. There's a little leech right here, swimming around right by my finger. There he goes. When you look at all these little small things swimming around here, they begin to form the long chain, which we call a food chain, which is a part of the trophic pyramid. And so in this particular lake, we have largemouth bass in this pond. It's got bluegills and some bluegill hybrids. Those would be the creatures that would benefit from these tiny little organisms that we have captured. At the same time, a great blue heron was spooked off the pond this morning as we drove in. And so think about the fish in here, and that's what that great blue heron's after. And so basically we're saying that blue heron is directly, no, more like indirectly dependent on what we have in our tray, because it goes up that chain. So if you're interested in coming to the workshop on July 23rd, we meet at Hitchcock Nature Center at 9 o'clock. It goes from 9 to 12. Maybe we'll see you on Saturday. I'd like to see you there. And we'll come back to this very same spot. Have a good day and walk softly on the earth.